Good evening, everybody, and welcome in. This is a Speed Gaming A Link to the Past Randomizer daily race presentation here. We say it's Link to the Past Randomizer, and it is technically. This is a customizer seed. We call this the vanilla preset. So what you're going to be seeing this evening is the No Major Glitches speedrun with some rando conveniences. We'll get into those in just a second, but I am Main DM. I'm joined in the booth here by Jesse, aka Radical Sniper 99. How are you doing, Jesse?
Good evening. I'm doing great. So yeah, you can already see a lot of the filled in information. We know the pendants, we know the crystals, we know the medallions. Why? Because it's NMG. To call it NMG though kind of misses also a couple of things. We do allow some extra of those rando conveniences that are not currently allowed in the no major glitches category. So some of those would be like Icebreaker or Diver Down.
See also the big daddy of them all, Save and Quit.
Ah, yes. We always kind of forget about that one being not allowed in the vanilla game, or at least the most important quote unquote category of NMG. So,
Other than that, one thing this means is we've stripped out almost all of the text boxes. The uncle will give us one, blind will give us one, but everything else is gone. That saves about 10 minutes. Quick swap is also enabled. That's going to save a couple of minutes worth of menu time, although there are some times where you may just want to go ahead and use the menu the way you would in an MG. There's a lot of muscle memory involved, particularly when you start talking about people who are sub 90.
yeah, and this is, looking at the four runners we have tonight, we definitely have some NMG people. So you can see at least Scoople and Shady both deciding to skip the lamp for now. Both very accustomed to the NMG idea, where you don't pick up that lamp, you pick up the other lamp.
As opposed to the other lamp, there are 3 locations where you can pick it up. The house is the first one.
Yes. So, traditional NMG, of course, has you picking up the one inside of Zelda's cell. Some other stuff that is, of course, adjusted in this is we would not, if you were go to something such as Pyramid Fairy or Zora Fairy, which I doubt we'll see from most of our runners tonight, you can skip those, or you can go straight to them, and there's a chest in there instead of having to throw your items into the water.
Again, those nice rando conveniences that we really take for granted a lot of the time. To put our runners in just a bit of perspective here, Scoople, they all have times on the speedrun NMG leaderboard. Scoople is the fastest of the 4 featured runners today with a 125.50. That's 44th overall in the world. Shady Force, 127.07, good for 70th. Matcap, just a hair north of that 90-minute mark, 130.57. And High Ruler bringing up the rear amongst the 4, 133.51, which is still a very solid time. Makes you a dangerous rando runner, no doubt about it.
Yeah, most you talk to a lot of the rando community, and they'll tell you, hey, if you can get sub 90, then you pretty much covered most of the big pieces to being competitive there. But even when you get that sub 135 area, you're still able to do quite a bit.
There is enough rando in rando that you can certainly rando some people once you've got your execution to that kind of a skill level.
And yes, because of the fact that this is technically a known quantity in terms of all of the items, our runners can be in a voice call for this one. They can also be in SG chat. There is nothing wrong with that.
It's not as though at this late date they have any real illusions about the items being in a wrong position, although the last time we did this back in January, there was a runner who was not necessarily immediately convinced that it was the vanilla seed.
Of course, we did not mention one of the other great little conveniences of this, Aga. We do have to fight Aga, but we're guaranteed 1 or 0 blue balls.
We're also, I believe, guaranteed 0 Ganon warps, which can actually be kind of a problem when you're getting right into Phase 4, because you're never going to get that initial silverless spin on him. He's always going to silver because he's not moving. Now, given some of the rando conveniences, maybe you do things in such an order that you decide to go ahead and pick up your butter sword and your silver arrows, and silvering Ganon is very nice in that case.
Yeah, I don't expect any of our runners tonight to do this, at least the 4 we have here. We do have, I believe, 4 other runners also running this. I'm not sure of their own comfort with the normal NMG setup. Only problem is also Butter Sword and Silvers, for as great as they are, you really only get to use them in GT, or Trinex at that.
They are locked away from you for a reason. They are decidedly powerful. You can see every time somebody in rando picks up those silver arrows and just kind of goes to town on Lanmo or Vitreous. The game was not really intending you to have that item there.
Yeah, Vitreous is the one, Vitreous being one of the dungeons that actually locks away the silvers in the vanilla game, so we definitely will not have that niceness there.
Shadow Force leaving at a 523, Matcap at a 525, Scoople around there as well. Hyrule are going to bring up these, so we got about 5 seconds between our runners on the escape sequence. Not bad at all. And then we see some save and quit, some save and quit, and Scoople says, nope, you know what, I'm just going to do the vanilla route.
Yep, Scoople, I did talk to a little bit before the race, and he was very clear in saying he is not save and quitting today. This does save some time. You can actually see this in some of the routes or the other categories to regular NMG. We do actually have on the speed gaming or speed runs leaderboards. There is a category for NMG with save and quit, as well as even the Master Sword run allows save and quit as a category.
Then I feel like between the Master Sword runs and Master Sword times you see in actual NMG runs, what are you saving there? A couple of minutes, maybe?
Part of that has more to do with the fact that you can also skip Pearl, but yes, there are some time gains just from the save and quits. So it's a few little things for sure. And we're not sure if Scoople's going to go full NMG on this, or if he's going to take some of the rando convenience. I don't know if he'll go for Icebreaker or Diver Down.
We'll also find out here the first indicator in just a little bit. When he gets to the bow, you can quick swap to the bow. Anyone who has the race room open can see Hyruler has noted terrible escape. Something that you'll see in, say, the NMG weeklies on Sunday. People will make comments about what timestamps they've made particular pieces of progress at, how many blue balls they've gotten, things along those lines. And something that you wouldn't really see in a rando race because, well, it's a rando race. You need to keep things a little closer to the vest because you don't know where everything is already.
Exactly.
But that's one of the things that makes running the vanilla game fun. You can kind of have those little bits of interaction with the other people you're running it with rather than worrying about, am I giving away information if I say this?
Yeah, there's a great sense of community within the NMG community in general. A lot of that, just you can find that on those Sunday weeklies of just a group kind of just hanging out and voice chat and being, hey, where are you at? What's going on? Even just discussing some strategies if there's newer runners who join in.
High Ruler appears to have had a little trouble with the damage boost here in the Vanilla Big Key Room and had to resort to the developer-intended strat of slaying everything. And there's answer number 1. Scoople is, at the very least, going to use Quick Swap for us.
And a little scary, they're down to half a heart. But Shady Force first into Armos, followed by, it looks like Matcap, and Scoople just a bit behind that.
Given that Scoople chose to walk all the way from the Sanctuary there, the time gains are only so much. And now we're catching heart containers and pendants, and normally after you catch the pendant there's a text box that you have to clear, but not in this.
And we don't have to listen to a very chatty Sahasrahla to get those boots.
The chattiness of the NPCs in this game is somewhat legendary if you have run the vanilla game at all. When you start having crystal catches and you're burning somewhere between 30 and 45 seconds just mashing some buttons to make sure the text goes away as quickly as possible, you start wondering, is this really the best use of time? And the answer is, well, you can run the vanilla preset and not have to do that.
So here is a little bit of a change. We are seeing Matcap go for Sahasrahla's Closet while Shady skips it. But they are both saving and quitting. Scoople is, as we said, just going to continue with this no save and quit strategy.
Showing us, at least so far, a very vanilla experience, but Shady thought about leaving the book behind for just a split second there and gave Matcap time to catch back up.
And of course, Shady is going to give us what is known as cursed spin speed. It doesn't always save it can only save very minute amounts of time. And that's if you get it right.
Getting spin speed right must be nice. Does not look like Scoople is going to go for it, and of course Matcap did not.
Yeah, if our third commentator, I believe Vortex of Doom, is going to join us, he actually is quite rehearsed and practiced in these things and does know some of the time saves possible for that maneuver. And even he'll tell you it's, unless you're doing it almost perfectly, you're really not saving time with it.
It is called cursed for a reason, not unlike the forbidden dash near the top of Aga Tower. It's forbidden for a reason. Shady going to go ahead and be first into Desert here, although not by much. Looks like High Ruler may be opting for kind of a hybrid save quit and not strategy here. Did some save and quit early, but not going to save and quit back to the house from picking up the book.
And it's difficult, I feel like, part of the speech just becomes, do you think about how much time it saves to do it or not at times? To go from Sahasrahla to your house, okay, that feels like it will be. To go from desert to the mountain, yeah, that makes sense. But back from the library to your house feels less substantial. That's, that feels more of just like, don't know that it is yet.
At the very least, it is reasonably close. Not going to lose a whole lot of time there if you decide not to take it. Now, as we see Shady and Matcap picking up those arrows there in Desert Palace, one thing that I do like about learning the NMG run is you can definitely learn where some of your just refills under pots are. Arrows particularly, also some bombs.
Yeah, that's where a lot of the knowledge comes, learning this game, even if you're not going to push for sub 90 or even faster, or pushing to those levels, you can learn a lot that can just help you in your rando experience. Seeing each of these pop pickups, we don't see the magic pickups for this, but a lot of the other ones, the arrows and bombs you mentioned, are just so hugely important. And this is where a lot of runners pick that info up. Now, of course, the other thing about this run, this vanilla preset, of course, is that it is not actually a current category in for Link to the Past. I know a lot of people kind of run this as a little bit of a hobby run, but not yet a category for speedruns.
Which is kind of surprising, since there's also the No Sprite run, which has, I think, 10 people on the leaderboard now?
Yeah, it's a little fun category. I want to say that came out around Halloween, was it?
Somewhere around there sounds right.
Yeah, No Sprite is actually a run with no enemies at all. A lot of the NPCs still exist, and you have to talk to them like normal, but the enemies don't exist at all. But we do have some Landmolus fights going on, and as was mentioned in chat, Landmo is one of the hardest bosses of the early game here.
Certainly one of those places where a run can go to kind of fall apart in the early game. Now, if you're new to the game and you're learning this, there are some safeties you can take before you get here. When you go to pick up the book, you can go grab the bottle out of the back of the tavern, and then take that bottle with a small child and get the bug net, and there is a room with fairies in Desert Palace, so you can pick up a safety here if you're not yet really ready to do the full NMG Landmolus experience.
Yeah. But you kind of see just how much that experience pays off. Shkoople came in, third runner into that fight, and just really had a good Landmo. I think that might have been a 3-cycle. Whereas Shady and Matcap had a little bit more trouble with the fight. So there's this push and pull of Shkoople not saving and quitting versus those two, where they gain a bunch of time, but Shkoople's own execution is really keeping him pretty close.
Yep, you can really see that sub 126 time paying off. The way that Shady and Matcap have both been going for the save and quits, it's also been pretty easy to see where Shady keeps kind of pulling away a little bit as the dungeons go on. That roughly 4-minute time gap in NMG time between the two of them. Just a second here and a second there, but eventually it all adds up by the end of a nearly hour-and-a-half run.
Exactly. Even if you just look at this as being, a set of frames per room, you discuss it that way, there are hundreds of rooms, and it does add up.
And yes, to answer the question from chat, this is, in fact, vanilla everything. Well, not vanilla text boxes. And you can use rando glitches, you can save and quit, all the goodies.
Yeah, I think that the moment where Shkoople's going to have the best chance to kind of catch up is going to be when we hit Dark World and get that flute. Because I gotta believe save and quit's gonna lose a lot of value there, almost all of it.
Yeah, once you can mirror and flute, you would think that most of the gain from save and quit kind of goes away, because mirror transition takes a little while. Actually getting back through the save and quit is a little longer than you might at first think.
Now, of course, the one thing we cannot speed up in this is the tile rooms. Unless...
Well, Scoople seems to be going fast in the tile room all of a sudden. You can,
Yes.
in fact, arm a super speed state here and then step onto those stairs while holding a pot. Shady forced the first of the runners up past the coward switch there. You can absolutely hit that switch and have access to the pots with hearts under them on the penultimate floor of this dungeon, which is something that you can get pretty much automatically if you Harapot, but, well, the hook shot is locked away in the Dark World. You're not going to be Harapotting in NMG ever. Not just because it's not allowed, but, well, you're not going to get there that way.
Yeah, that's starting to venture into the, of course, major glitches territory. Or reduced major glitches. Which has actually been a major was a major discussion when those glitches were found. You know, what do we allow in those categories?
Up until that point in time, Rando really kind of hewed pretty closely to the NMG rule set, but as of Diver Down and Icebreaker and such, we've kind of gone our own way a little bit.
So the question in chat, you know, would Mire before Ice be worth it? Generally, I would have to say so. There's nothing you're actually getting out of Ice. I don't think I would do Swamp still after Mire. I don't think Diver Down is going to benefit enough.
Well, you could always just bomb Diver Down.
Yeah, you could.
Provided, of course, that you're comfortable with that version of the trick.
And there we go. Third pendants so far for Shady, Matcap, and Scoople. High Ruler does have that Pearl and is heading towards Moldorm as well.
Well, we're about to see at least one sub-22-minute Master Sword.
I mean, that's contending for Master Sword world record, right?
Kind of. A couple of them. Matcap's gonna make it as well. High Ruler and the Worm not really getting along all that well here, but he does get the fight done. I did notice Matcap grabbing the mushroom. Grabbing that before going to the Master Sword pedestal makes a lot of sense in a category where you can save and quit out from said pedestal.
Yeah, and Shady's actually not doing the save and quit on this one. Although, did Shady have to do rupee pulls?
No, I think he's been at 107 rupees for a little while now. Scoople's doing polls, though.
Yeah, I wasn't sure because the only person who has the bombs that would tell me they did Saha is Matcap.
Yeah, I'm not sure where Shady actually got those. Did we just not pay attention and he went to Eastern Rupees in the Cannonball Room, maybe?
No, I think if anything, maybe he did the Saha rupees, but not the bombs.
That's also possible. In normal NMG, bombs do have a text box attached to them when you get them out of a chest, so maybe he just decided to dodge those.
Yeah, chat confirming as well, they think Shady did pull the rupee chest and skipped the bomb one. And really at this point, Scoople entering Aga Tower, not really far behind Matcap and Shady for all that extra save and quit advantage. Oh, and even Shady's confirming it for us. Thank you.
It makes life a little easier as a commentator when the runner can just say, yeah, I did that. Don't need mini bombs if you're going to Icebreaker. Alright, that makes sense.
Yep.
And you can always pick up plenty in Palace of Darkness. If you're going to bomb Diver down in Swamp, well, there are bombs available in Swamp, you just have to pick them up.
Yeah, I'll be very curious to see some of this dungeon routing in terms of, we're definitely going to get Pod, then we're definitely going to get Thieves and Skull. Question becomes the Ice Mire Swamp trio. In what order do we do those if we're hoping for a Diver down?
I guess you could do Swamp relatively early and then take advantage of the hook shot and quick swap to do some hook speeds in places.
Yeah, the only big issue here, of course, is order of getting flippers. We use, traditional NMG pairs Ice Palace with the flipper get. It is just quicker in terms of the overall run.
Running out of the Zora area does take a little while though, so maybe we're going to see some save and quit action there.
True. One thing we I was about to say doesn't matter once we hit Dark World, but there is actually one case where it still matters a lot.
Yeah, one of those locations in the overworld where you're not allowed to flute away. Surprise! No blue balls from Aga today. And Shady made up basically all of that advantage that Matcap had gained from the save and quit back to the house to make the Aga Tower play in the course of getting up the tower. I'm going to guess that all the rest of the runners probably picked up that arrow pot that High Roller just walked by, but High Roller's in a really good arrow position here, so it is unlikely to be a problem.
Yeah. That's almost like a given in the NMG to pick that one up. And for the others, it definitely was a safe one to grab, or very helpful.
So here we are in the part of the run where we've been kind of speculating for a while now that Scoople is going to start trying to run Matcap and Shady Force back down. The number of save and quits very likely to reduce to near zero at this point. Regular old-fashioned NMG execution plus some rando tricks is going to be the order of the day.
Now, of course, to anybody who doesn't know this, little fun fact about Palace of Darkness is it's the one dungeon actually in the NMG preset, or the vanilla preset, that doesn't like the rando customizer. Palace of Darkness, one of the things we talk about always with key sanity modes is that the Dark Maze can not have a key in rando. Well, here's the thing. In vanilla game, it does. And this is one of those things that has to be overridden pretty much to make this work.
I think it's actually a form of beatable-only logic, technically. The key logic we use for rando says you can't have a key in there because you could lock yourself out of the dungeon if there is one. But that's not the way NMG really works, and so we just told the customizer, nope, this is a valid preset, you can roll it anyway. Incoherent has in chat for us, it's actually just straight up no logic. Fair enough.
Okay. And of course, if you're looking to learn key sanity modes, this is always a great primer for one of your standard tricks, the hammer yump. Madcap having a little bit of trouble setting that one up. Does get it for the hammer. Meanwhile, Shady is continuing as Scoople is about to begin his hammer yump. High Ruler is into pod as well, just entering into the shooter room now.
Imagine we've got all 4 runners in the same dungeon.
Where's the divergence?
Well, I think if we're going to get any at all, it's going to be after Skull Woods. Shady Force running just a little low on arrows there, opts to collect both of those arrow pots before continuing.
And unfortunately for Madcap, that 1 heart short right now of full. But luckily the quick swap does make this a little better.
Fairly easy to just go ahead and menu over to bow via quick swap and shoot the crystal switch there rather than having to worry about not having beams. It's a situation you can be in rando all the time. Of course, then you're probably swapping to something like Ice Rod or Fire Rod. Or Madcap's going to use the blue boomerang, also a viable option.
Yeah, meanwhile, Shady Force coming up on Helmasaur King. This is definitely one of the scarier fights. Not that there's any real gimme fights in Dark World for NMG, it feels like at times. So we should set up the spin speed for this, and then we're really just going to go to town. 17 hammer hits. You're looking for that 17th hit to hopefully be after Helma's second attack. In this case, it was going to be fireballs for Shady, so it was able to despawn the fireballs.
Scoople in there just absolutely wailing away is now just a handful of hammer hits behind Madcap.
Yeah, and this is a scary fight. This is why this fight is dangerous. And Scoople just getting all fireballs on this one. Whew. Sigh of relief there for Scoople for sure. And this is a save and quit I hadn't thought about from Shady to get out of the pod maze. That does actually make a lot more sense than I would have thought.
We will, of course, see the run out from Scoople, who has decided to issue the save and quits tonight. And High Ruler, very much that rando player who also plays some NMG, was definitely hoovering up every arrow he could find in that second Mimic's room. Wants to make sure that he is good on all possible resources at all times.
Now, I missed what happened to Madcap here. Did Madcap go into Light World and then have to get back into Dark World? Forgot about the flute, possibly?
That could have been, but you still would have had your mirror portal unless there was a second save and quit, I guess, but that would be kind of strange. I'm not entirely sure what did happen there.
Either way, that did give Scoople a little bit of time to catch back up and pass Madcap for now, and still kind of working his way towards Shady Force.
Catching Shady is going to be a tall order, but if anybody here is going to do it, barring something misfortunate happening on Shady's end, Scoople's the one.
Meanwhile, High Ruler is through Palace of Darkness as well, and is not saving and quitting at this moment, so going to continue. High Ruler's been kind of back and forth on this. Definitely a question of, knowing whether or not the save and quits are valuable. Tough to say at times. But here we go with Thieves Town on Shady Force's side. Pretty straightforward dungeon overall. We know that that fourth chest is our big key. And then all we really have to do is... It's almost a go mode dungeon in a sense. Or really every dungeon is, but this one especially, we're going to get the Maiden Cell for the small key and get the Titan's Mitts out of that big chest.
Mostly what it is you just get to skip almost all of the front. Looks like we're unlikely to see powder from anyone today. Madcap, I think, was the only runner who picked up the mushroom, and after activating the flute is usually a time to go do that, because after that you start seeing dungeons where you've got convenient antiberries to fill back up on.
Yeah, that usually is the traditional spot for it, so at this rate we're probably not going to see it. Maybe this is just a, hey, I want that little bit of safety. There is some mix between whether you do it before, like right after activating flute, or right after, or right as you're going for Quakefish. But I think the extra mirror transitions when doing the Quakefish turn in or check or pickup, I guess as it is going to be a little bit slower just because of those extra mirrors. Since technically when you activate the flute, usually for an NMG run, you're activating it on the W. Whereas if you're gonna get powder, you're able to just flute from the south. So you save a little bit of movement as well. So which actually is faster, I'm not sure. I feel like maybe a little bit less strict timing has gone into determining that, since it's definitely more mid-level of a decision rather than the high-level play.
Here we have the blind fight, the so-called scripted fight. It'll react the same way every time, as long as you do the same thing every time. Shady already threw 2 phases of it.
And sticks to the script perfectly. But once again, we've got all 4 runners inside of Thieves Town right now. At least momentarily. So here we go. We do need a little bit more money to finish this one. Brewery and C-Shape House are both 300 rupees. So we are going to use those to get up to our Zora money in this category usually.
And if you happen to miss one, your other main option would be to go for the backup 3 hundo on Old Johnny 2 Bombs, the NPC in Hype Cave.
Yeah, and that Hype Cave NPC is actually the traditional one you go for in Hundo. Partly because Brewery becomes our red rang because we skipped the blue meringue. Just thinking about it, Hundo would be so much better in this vanilla preset.
Wouldn't it? You're guaranteed 1 try chest game, 1 try dig game.
Whew. Don't tempt me with a good time. Yeah, one of the better things about this, getting that tempered sword now, usually you have to go in, you have to go out, you have to go in, you have to go out, and out a screen, and then back to get your tempered sword. And this one, you got to go in and out, but then the next time you go in, you're getting your tempered.
I feel like we missed some shaking it all about there, but alright, I'll allow it.
Sounds good.
High Ruler closing in on the blind fight now. Everybody else has had a solid time in here. Hopefully that's going to continue. Nice first 2 phases. Just 3 more hits to go. 2, 1, and there it is.
Very nicely done. Everybody threw blind, so and that's the thing. A lot of, when we talk about just keeping up learning these bosses, NMG is kind of the spot to learn it. You learn just so much about how these bosses mechanically work, and you can get a very solid strategy for each of them. Even that big key for Skull Woods that you've seen Scoople and Shady Forest and Matt Caps coming to now, this is kind of the normal way to go after this. Get both the berries, and then you're just out working the hand here in this room. Unfortunately, it looks like Matt Cap had the statue a little bit too far to the left.
Yep, 1 pixel too far to the left. It was not holding down the button and has to go back and reorientate.
Now, one of the things we didn't talk about much, we said that Icebreaker is allowed. Icebreaker does kind of give us something we don't see in a normal NMG run.
The Ice Palace Big Key and the opportunity for nearly free blue mail.
Yeah. Tough to say. Will we actually see a runner go after blue mail today?
It's one of those things, normally it's well off the route because you're doing Ice Palace Bomb Jump, you're never getting over by that big key at all. But if you're going to Icebreaker, you're practically on top of it.
Meanwhile, Shady does take down the Moth. Scoopil is about to drop in. Matt Cap working towards the back, and High Ruler just got done Sea House and is heading to Skull Woods. And this is where we're going to start seeing the real divergence of this run.
Finally, after all this time, our runners have options. Shady is going to go ahead and at least make the grab of Ether right now.
Yeah, if this was normal NMG, we would definitely be seeing a run towards Zora and Quakefish for Flippers and Quake. But it looks like Shady might be playing for Meyer first, wants to be able to do Icebreaker and Diver down, so we need that Ether Medallion first up.
Looks like Scoople may have similar designs, also the mirror from the Skullwoods area and the Fluked one. And this looks like it may just be full shopping from Shady here, because we're also heading for Ice Rod Cave now. Another solid moth fight there from Matcap.
Yep, Shady heading for Misery Mire. Scoople fluting as well after getting his Ether Medallion. Also heading for Mire. So it'll look to be just about an Ether Medallion difference, or an Ice Rod difference between the two of them. Matcap appears to be taking a bit more traditional of a route here, going after the Flippers. So he might be thinking, I would prefer to have Hook Shot for Mire, is my guess at this moment.
The hookshot, maybe also the one additional heart container.
Yeah, that was mentioned earlier. Compared to your typical NMG loadout at this moment, this is 2 less heart containers. We usually have Swamp Palace and Ice Palace done, so those 2 containers are not available right now.
Now, done ideally, the Vitreous fight will cost you 5 hearts, so as long as you have 6 going into the fight, and you execute perfectly, you'll be okay, but it's always nice to have that little bit of extra safety just in the back pocket, just in case.
Yeah, especially with the intentional damage boosting we're going to have to do for a small key coming up. There is, of course, 1 free heart along the way, but no guarantees we'll be able to get up high enough if we take too much damage along the way. Meanwhile, High Ruler does take down the Moth as well, working through the same bosses, just a little bit behind right now. Matcap gets the Flippers, as well as having that Quake Medallion did perform the save and quit, and is going to the Mountain Cave, so probably getting Ether at this moment.
It's just a little bit of a different way to do shopping.
Yeah, and realistically, if you're looking to get into NMG, one of the things a lot of people will tell you is just be consistent about how you do your shopping. There's not necessarily a 100% this is the right answer, just more of a, hey, if this is what you prefer to do, just make sure you do it all the time for your splits. And here we're actually seeing some of that safety, or a safe maneuver from Shady Force deciding to get the small key in the arena there, so we'll not have to go for the spike chest here.
The Scoople thought he didn't care, but then he balked back onto the spikes, and instead of being down 3 hearts, he's down 4.
Yeah, there's our freebie heart out of that one pot. But still a little bit more tense on his end. Of course, the Wizrobes can drop hearts, but we unfortunately did not get any this time.
At least on Scoople's end, he dashed into it rather than slashing it, so he was not going to get a heart from that one.
Yeah. We've got spooky action going on here now in the Mire basement. Scoople pulling off this first one and the second. Shady not going for spooky.
That's somewhere on the order of a 10 to 15 second time loss. Scoople having a little bit of an adventure there with the last couple of small eyeballs on Vitreous, but does get the job done.
Yeah, very nicely accomplished there. Just losing a few hearts. You know, as you said, 5 would be ideal and does it in less. Shady also giving us a nice Vitreous here. Hitting the 0 cycle at that even. Nicely done.
Hyrule getting that Ether Medallion, does have the Flippers, does have the Quake. Let's see. Fluting to 4. Alright, this is maybe a Swamp Palace play before heading for Mire.
Yeah, the hookshot does give you a little bit of a movement advantage in some regards, so understandable to go for that first. Yeah, mainly the hookshot's used in this room that Matcap's coming up on. You usually expect to see somebody hookshot across here. The timing's a little bit tighter. As you can see, is Matcap just getting across to get that Cane of Samaria.
It's only really a danger if you wind up bonking there. That can become a problem. But we'll see Matcap heading into the back of Mire here now with those 7 hearts. As long as he holds on to all of those, he's in pretty good shape.
And if not, Matcap is our only runner with the safety of a mushroom here.
One of the advantages of that mushroom, if you're performing full spooky anyway, you're going to be close to out of magic, so there's not a whole lot of a time loss to go ahead and do that fake powder, particularly in the case where we're in rando and we don't have a text box for, hey, you dingus, you ran out of magic.
Now, one of the cool things here we're seeing with Scoople and Shady Force is just how open up some of these boxes are of water. You see how close? It almost looks like Scoople is water walking. I promise you he's not. He actually is. Those are actually water that is technically still shallow. It just has a very terrible box that allows for that.
It's one of those screens in NMG where there's a lot of time to save once you understand what the screen actually looks like versus what your lying eyes are telling you.
But Scoople into Ice Palace as well as Shady. Now, the one thing I did notice is Scoople took 2 Fire Rod shots to take care of that initial Freezor. Hopefully the magic situation doesn't become too much of an issue. He is going into... I have to believe he's ice breaking this dungeon. And I just don't know where he's going to make sure to get the full refill to make sure he's got full 8 shots. Though, of course, Pen Gators drop magic, and he'll get the magic there.
Drop magic is a nice one. Also, if he can hold on to full health, and since he's unless he's just going to go ahead and perform IPBJ anyway, which he's not, if he can hang on to his full complement of hit points, then he can just double up his Fire Rod shots with Sword Beams.
And yes, Shady Force is up in Ice Rod right now. That's the only major difference between between Scoople and Shady at this moment.
Also, we're getting some interesting knowledge there from Foxlisk in chat, a known NMG runner in his own right. The water is actually directional. It's not actually shallow water. If you tried to enter it from the other side, you would splash.
Interesting. Scoople having an adventure there, unfortunately, with the Icebreaker, giving Shady Force an opportunity to actually pass him for a bit. But Scoople showing off his own little bits of extra bits of NMG knowledge, saying there's a small key in the spike room. I don't need the under the block key.
Back and forth we go a little bit, and I did forget about walking over those spikes, so Scoople not going to be able to double up with beams, but there are still the two pots right in front of the block you have to lift to fall into Cold Stare, so I think he's going to be fine on magic.
Meanwhile, High Ruler is our first runner in Swamp Palace right now, going for the diver down. Unfortunately, that little red jelly is saying, hello.
Says, "Hi, Hyruler, I'd like to come visit." And Hyruler says, "I really wish you hadn't."
But very, very slick kill of Cold Stare from both of our runners, Shkoople and Shady Force, able to bully Cold Stare into the corner.
To answer the question from chat, the mails are not progressive. If you go ahead and pick up red mail after you defeat the Ice Armos, you'll just get red mail. If you happened, for whatever reason, to skip Tempered Sword, you could still get your Butter Sword from the Pyramid Fairy.
I was not aware that that actually is how the swords and the mail were programmed here. And I guess the shields, for that matter.
Yeah, it's a bit of a throwback to the rando days of yore.
So Shkoople goes to get the Ice Rod now. And Shady Force is going to be into Swamp Palace just as High Ruler finishes up that Argus fight.
Alright, how does Hyruler want to play it? Is this the time for the Misery Mire play? It looks like it is.
Yeah, looks like High Ruler just wanted that hookshot a little bit sooner.
As long as you're comfortable with the bomb version of Diver Down, it's not like Samaria really changes anything for you in Swamp Palace, so it makes a good amount of sense.
Yeah, and part of the reason we actually save so much time with Diver Down in Swamp is partly because we're getting the Diver Down chest. If we're just going straight to Argus, a lot of that time save is kind of gone.
It's still faster, but mostly because you don't have to go over to the left side of that previous room and push the statue around and make sure you get that skull pot lifted. And then go drain the water in the other room. There's a lot more time saved there than it at first appears. It's not just about getting those chests.
Matcap also heading into Swamp Palace now. So High Ruler's got Ice and Mire left to do Crystal Wise before TR, and our other three runners all just have to get Swamp done before heading up to Turtle Rock.
Swamp, normally you think, well, I'm in go mode, it's a fairly quick dungeon, right? But in vanilla, you have to go over to left side Swamp because you need the vanilla big key to get the hookshot, because otherwise you're not going to complete the dungeon.
Yeah, we always talk about how, we don't need the big key to beat this dungeon. This is one of the times you do.
And the hookshot is locked behind it. Shady Force going to be the first of our runners here to pick that big key up, at least amongst the 3 who are in the dungeon at the moment. Hyrule already has it, of course, but has his own travails going on over there in the right-hand corner.
Yeah, and there's that little bonus from the hook shot, able to hook that block and then head towards the cane. Also, the fact that he's got that 1 extra heart container. And there's one of the little dangers. You know, we talk about how much convenience you get out of Quick Swap, and this was one of those few moments we saw on Shady Force's side where just, you know, sometimes menuing still is, I guess, a little bit faster, just being able to do that moment there. But here we go, diver down time.
Going for one of the older styles, that may even be the original style of it before the jump in the water version. Hyruler heading up to Vitreous here is on 6 hearts, it appears.
Yep, gonna have to play it a little bit safe here. Yep, he's playing it really safe. Doesn't even want to take a step into the acid here.
And that's a bit of the problem with trying to play it safe. Once you're not really containing the small eyeballs, they'll just come right out, they'll bounce you out of your spins. And then you're in a situation like this, where you're in the corner, and if Vitreous had decided to fire that just a little further left, you have a problem.
Yeah, that was a pure Oko from anything. Eyeball or lightning would have instantly killed Hyruler there. Very, very clutch fight there.
Puts a 5th crystal on the board, needs to go clean up Ice Palace, but after that it will be Turtle Rock time.
And Shady Force is going to give us a Pyramid Fairy.
Has the spare 100 rupees, thinks, well, you know, why not? What would be interesting is if Scoople decides not to, and we'll see what the actual time save difference is.
And it looks like Scoople is skipping Silvers and Butter, so here we go.
There is the Ice Rod for Hyruler. We'll get a quick flute to 8 next, I would think. Shady showing off a little bit there with the Silvers and Butter.
And Scoople's just going to be a little bit ahead heading into Turtle Rock now. Question in chat, is this vanilla sword bow male? This is vanilla everything. Vanilla preset puts everything, all the keys, all the items in their vanilla locations. Just with all of the great conveniences of Rando. So no text, no RNG on Aga, all that kind of stuff. Oh, and we've got quick swap and also glitches.
Essentially what it is it's the vanilla game built in the Link to the Past Randomizer customizer. So, although on speed gaming, none of our runners that we're featuring audio from are using MSUs, you can absolutely use an MSU 1-pack with your kind of NMG-ish experience, as Jesse was mentioning, quick swap available to you. The Uncle will give you a text box, and Ganon will give you a text box or two, and Blind will give you a text box, but all of the chatty maidens and the chatty old man in his little hovel there over by Eastern Palace, Sahasrara, not gonna say a word to you in this.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we are unable to feature MSU hacks here on Speed Gaming, but definitely a fun little part of mixing up your NMG even a little bit further than normal.
And I guess we kind of forget because we're so used to it, but nobody's running regular Link here. Scoople's running a kind of Link-adjacent sprite, I guess. Most of them are kind of running Link-adjacent sprites, but nobody just has the vanilla sprite here. And speaking of sprites, well, we do change colors when we pick up mail upgrades, and Hyrule has opted for the blue mail.
Yeah, with how convenient it was, as we were saying, not surprising to see that kind of move here before fighting Cold Stare.
A fight that can get away from you a little bit, although in a lot of cases I feel like that has more to do with accidentally flinging a fire rod shot at one of the walls instead of hitting the shell with it. But if you happen to have a little bit of a puff party after you've knocked off the ice shell there, if the puffs are kind of running around the room and bullying you a little bit, blue mail does cut the damage from them down.
By a whole heart. And unfortunately, Shady taking a death there in the that room right before the big key, or right after the big key. I missed it. Did Shady actually get TR big?
I missed it as well, but we have a bunch of people over there in chat who I'm sure are paying attention, or, Shady's in there, so...
Zelga pointing out in chat that it was before the big key, so really a unfortunate death there. Gonna have to get all the way back to that door.
We are getting those wonderful sounds of beeping from Matcap, but definitely not at the NMG speed.
Yeah, that's a nice random convenience.
It's probably a good thing we can't feature Scoople's audio. He's probably using double beeps, just for the lulz.
Scoople has definitely pointed out many times in the past how much he loves double beep. Actually, one of our previous, gonna be our fourth featured runner tonight before we had to swap in Hyrule was gonna be Vortex, who also is a fan of the double beep. But Scoople on Trinex, very nice. Double spin / dead for Trinex.
Scoople says that he has retired the doubles.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Bad, man.
So, and I know usually people are going to say, hey, we can do GT big key guessing. Not exactly.
Well, you can guess if you want which small keys our runners are going to pick up. There are, in fact, options.
Yes.
A torch key is a possibility, mini Helma key is a possibility, and the penultimate chest of the game is a possibility. Kind of depends on how you want to go through the dungeon a little bit.
Unfortunately, it looks like Matt Cap was having a little bit of an adventure there in the TR maze. I saw a lot of loops around some other portions of that, so lost a bit of time.
And making some good use of the hook shot to hang on to the hit points. That's one of the things in an NMG run in kind of a group/community setting like this where you're intending to finish the run, that knowing where your backups are, knowing some safeties like that, and it can definitely pay off in rando as well.
Meanwhile, Scoople working through Ganon's Tower basement on the way to Ice Armos.
Speaking of ways you can use those hookshot invincibility frames, sneaking through the bottom fire snake in the 4 fire snake room.
But Shady takes down Trinex, Matt Cap into phase 2 as High Ruler is heading towards Trinex, having that big key. So everybody's about to have their 7th crystal momentarily. Scoople dropping in on Ice Armos. 23 arrows, plenty to do this.
Five left. There's a chest with 10 just to the left of the big key here, which he's going to go ahead and take because, well, you do still have to get through the mimics. And while mimic clip is a thing you can do, it's also maybe a little slower than just firing a few arrows.
I'll take a bow any day. And of course, we do get another drop from that red mimic. So Scoople's going to have a few extra arrows for the gauntlet coming up.
Shady was thinking something very similar, wants to have plenty of arrows on hand, particularly having those silvers in the back pocket, but managed to not get through with the hitting of that crystal switch with the blue boomerang and collect the arrows and still move on to the next room. Has to kind of double back once or twice.
Scoople into the gauntlet now.
And Incoherent is pointing out, as I missed it, that we did have one collection of the torch key. Matt Cap opting for torch key.
I'll be honest, I'm usually a torch key person as well, so... Scoople through land mode 2 just as High Ruler takes down Trinex. And that land mode 2 from Scoople, I believe, was a 1 cycle, so even the time that Shady can save there in terms of having silvers is just, you know, washed away immediately.
Still going to be worth a solid 30 seconds or so on the Ganon fight, makes phase 4 much quicker. Matt Cap decidedly low on arrows here, but again, this 10 stack in the top left-hand chest behind the Ice Armor is going to give him plenty to work with. Hyrule also going to be a torch key player.
And Scoople going for that, as you said, penultimate chest. And also showing off a little bit of extra tech. More of an NMG thing, using the last bomb he had to... instead of going over or menuing or quick swapping, I believe.
I've always thought of that as kind of a weird NMG rando hybrid, because before the days of quick swap you could do that and be set up to powder the anti-fairy and bunny beam in that next room. I'm not sure. I'm certainly not conversant enough with advanced NMG strategies to... I guess it puts you a menu closer if you're getting into the menu to get to bow, question mark, but you're going to hookshot there. I'm not sure. We've got a bunch of people who are really good at the NMG side of the street in chat. One of them can probably straighten us out.
But Scoople dropping in now on Ganon as High Ruler takes on Ice Armos. Matcap is working through the Gauntlet, and Shady Force is into Torches 1.
High Ruler having a little bit of an adventure here with the Ice Armos, but did get up to a full 30 sticks before dropping in, so is in decent shape here. Although, opting for the sword strats, maybe going to go back here. Nope, just going to go ahead and slash it out.
And as pointed out in chat by Malmo, getting rid of the bombs does make getting from hookshot to the fire rod quicker in the Ganon fight. And that does explain quite a bit.
I suppose this is the time to point out that Scoople is on Phase 4 of Ganon. The NMG world record is 123 and a couple of seconds, so you can see just how much time that Scoople, who is a little less than 4 minutes off of that in the actual vanilla game, just how much time is saved by the rando conveniences, as we've been calling them.
Yeah. But get your GGs in chat for Scoople, who is going to be our first to finish here on the restream with a 1:16:34. We did have two other finishers a little bit before that. Matt7898 with a 1:14:07, and this is not Yoho with a 1:14:36 coming first and second, respectively. I would have to assume that is mostly due to some of the conveniences that Scoople did not take advantage of today in terms of save and quit.
Yeah, that is certainly possible. Shady going to give us the Buttersword Silver's version of this Ganon fight, while Matcap is going to reflect some shots back here at Aga 2. And High Ruler through the Gauntlet portion of the program, on to Landmo 2.
Matcap now dropping into Ganon as well, as Shady Force is going to finish off Ganon with a triple. Very nice. High Ruler coming up on Wizrobes too.
Yeah, Shady just going to go ahead and stand there in the spot that he wanted to be in all along while the explosion happens. The triple was already in.
And there we go. Shady finishing second on Restream, fourth overall with a 1:18.20.
The lack of Ganon warp's so nice, huh?
Agreed. Why don't we get that convenience in Rando normally?
I'm not sure that that's a safe question to ask. We may get answers that we don't like.
I mean, I've always understood why we don't get Zero Blue Ball Aga, but why not Zero Warp Ganon?
Hyrule now past the worm. Matcap, just another couple of spins to go, I think. Alright, a couple, maybe a bit of a loose term there. It was in fact 3.
But down goes Ganon for Matcap. And is going to finish up with an official time of 1:20.09 for fifth overall, third on the Restream.
Leaving us with only Hyruler as a restreamed runner who is waiting out the cutscene here and will be dropping into Ganon momentarily.
And as you said, with the world record currently at that 123 flat, in normal NMG with all the text boxes and everything else, all four of our Restream runners really looking like we could have all four of them below that time. It
My
really
very
does
rough
save that much.
Yeah, my very rough guesstimate rule of thumb is that it saves about 12 minutes in just text boxes and quick swapping. If you run it kind of like Scoople did without the save and quits factored in, and if you also don't diver down or ice break to kind of hold on to the quote-unquote NMG spirit, you get about 12 minutes that way.
And we are actually being joined by one of our runners, Matcap. GG.
Hey, thank you. GG to everyone. Yeah, it was decent, I guess. It was okay.
Good change of pace from normal. Or
Yeah.
from rando? I don't know.
Yeah, like the save and quits were so weird. Like at some points I really didn't know what to do, and it could have been worse for sure. And like I was so close about forgetting about the ice rod. So hopefully, I mean, that didn't happen at least.
It's kind of fun, though, to play the game, but also have those rando quick swap conveniences and on and on.
Yeah, I had never gotten around to trying it. I wanted to do it, and yeah, it's fun. It's a little bit different, and yeah, it's good practice for sure.
It does let you get around to doing a little more practicing of the actual game and a little less mashing through text boxes. Speaking of, there are normally a lot of text boxes after you cross this bridge that Hyruler is crossing now, the fourth of our restreamed runners to finish this thing up, but it's good for 6th overall in a time of 1:22.56, which is below NMG world record.
Yeah, I don't know why I missed the hammer jump. To be honest, I have to look into it, but I thought I was good. That was a shame. But it was good, alright. All overall.
So did you have the restream up watching along with some of it to see where everybody else was, or just kind of running your own thing?
Mm, Yeah, I didn't do it in the end. I was going to do it, but I decided to just close it, and yeah, I'll probably watch it at some point. Because, like, at least with the change that I mean, still, I knew I was, like, I knew I was going to be behind probably, so.
You were hanging on to Shady Force's tails there for quite some time. It was only in the really late game that he managed to open the gap up on you.
Oh, well, that's good to know. Yeah, cool. Yeah, I think I played, like, towards the end a little bit better. Spooky was really unfortunate as well. Like, those two things, I don't really know why it didn't work. And yeah, like, those save and quits to wrong places and stuff, but yeah, it's bound to happen. Yeah, I'm happy overall. Like, at least no, like, big deaths or anything too terrible. Like, there were some close places like Turtle Rock or Schoolwoods or some stuff like that. Like, I barely made it, so yeah, it was good.
Looks like we also may be getting High Ruler in here in a second. Down there in the setup channel, maybe getting a headset ready. Or perhaps not.
It's a bit late for me, so I'm gonna be leaving you. Thank you to everyone for commentary and restreaming, not tracking this time, I guess. Oh yeah, there is a tracker. Cool. Thank you to everyone involved, and yeah, and good luck to everyone in qualifiers and everything, and yeah, and good luck to Radical Sniper as well in the next multi-world match.
Whenever we set that up.
Yeah, we do. We actually do have to set up that for sure tomorrow, I guess. So thank you to everyone, and good night.
Have a good one.
And GG's, High Roller. Gotta go. Bye bye.
Oh, GG.
Yeah, GG High Ruler. Welcome to the comm booth. What'd you think of running this one?
I mean, I figured I'd probably be last, since everybody's better at NMG than I am. But, I don't know. I had some really bad luck with enemy RNG in this one, so it was pretty rough. And I wasn't playing the best, so that's why I grabbed Blue Mail, just to make sure I didn't die in TR and GT.
Honestly, we kind of were surprised maybe nobody else did, given how free it is with Icebreaker.
Yeah. That's why I went for it. Normally, you definitely would not.
I mean, I think glitchless dungeon order, different little side category, almost has the same logic to it. You have to get big key in that one, so why not get free blue mail? You pass by big key in an icebreaker, so why not?
Yeah, exactly. Because I think I would have died in both TR and Ganon if I hadn't grabbed it. Definitely Ganon, but I think I would have died in TR on Laser Bridge because I got hit by the laser, and I got hit by a chain chomp, so...
Yeah, we actually
a
had
handful of seconds to pick it up.
Exactly. I think we saw Shady Force take a death in TR, so...
Oh, geez. So he took a death and he still kicked my butt? That feels bad. That's why I'm not running NMG anymore. At least not in a race. I don't know. I'll have to figure out how to get better, but I feel like I've hit the limits of at least how good I can get, like, personally. I just don't have the some of the reaction time and some other things that I feel like I would need. I could not get spin speed. I'm usually not that bad at it. Like, I get it at least half the time, but I just could not get spin speed this time.
I'm hearing a lot of things that I think when I play an MG, and I don't disagree with you, but it's not always as difficult as it first appears, and a lot of the rando playing can carry over, so over the course of time you can definitely just kind of revisit it and find that you've improved generally. The point, yeah, kind of a case in point, my co-com Jesse here does not grind in MG, but he does play it every once in a while.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I practiced a lot, and I got under, what was it, 1 hour and 34 minutes as my PB, but I just feel like I can't get past that wall. But I mean, I'm okay with my skill level. It's good enough for rando for the most part.
Yeah, what it starts to come down to is like you start noticing the little things like the dash lines and all the other room strats. It becomes, I'm losing a second or two in every room now. And while it doesn't seem like a lot in the moment, it just adds up at a certain point.
Yeah. Yeah, little things like that. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm still over 10 minutes off world record, so there's got to be some other stuff I'm doing wrong or not noticing that I'm doing for it to be that big of a gap.
Right.
But, I mean, I could always, like, side-by-side compare my PB to, like, world record or something and kind of figure out, all the little things I'm doing wrong. But I don't know. I'm like, I just play this game for fun mostly, so.
Honestly, that's how I look at it, so don't blame you.
But I don't think I did too bad. At least it was deathless.
Yeah,
I
good
mean,
run.
obviously, that's because of blue mail. So if it was normal NMG, I would have died. But I'll take it.
And honestly, High Ruler, you win the memes today. So we just got to see the CRs. Thank you.
No, I won the memes. What do you mean?
Your CR.
You have the nicest CR.
Yeah, the nicest of CRs.
Oh, I get it. Okay. Got it.
Everybody else only came close.
I don't know. I don't think Scoople even came all that close by the collection rates expected of the category.
Well, I guess I won then.
Yeah, you win some, you lose some. Such as rando, even when, well, it's not technically rando this time.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, thanks for having me on Restream. It really should have been Vortex, but I guess I hopefully put on enough of a good show for people, so I was entertaining enough to compare to everyone else.
Don't worry, I was the tribute fourth the last time around. We did this a couple of months back. You put in a much better time than I did.
Well, thanks.
And it gave Vortex to fix up his computer, hopefully that he's able to race. I think he's got an 80 keys race tonight as well, so.
Oof. Well, yeah, hopefully you can get it fixed by then. That's stressful. It's enough to have to race in tournament, but to have to race knowing you might have technical problems is just adds extra stress. But all right, yeah, thanks once again. I'm gonna take off, and you have a good night.
You too. Thanks for joining us.
All right. Bye.
But it looks like that is going to do it for us here tonight on Speed Gaming. Thanks everybody for checking out the vanilla preset for our daily race here. We do have we've got the schedule for the daily races as always. Main tourney qualifiers have of course begun, and we are trying to feature as many runners as possible throughout the qualifiers. We've gotten through 3 of those races, so 15 more qualifiers to go until we start forming brackets or groups for brackets even.
Next one of those is going to be kind of late on a Friday night, 11 p.m. Eastern Time is going to be our start time for qualifier number 4.
By the way, we did talk about the fact that tonight was a no logic seed in a sense for getting the vanilla preset set up. Tomorrow is actually no logic, as our daily race at 9 p.m. tomorrow night is no logic. And then Friday, hey, you know what day it is? And to celebrate, we've got this year's 2022 Link to the Past Randomizer festive mode, celebrating the great April Fool's Day. All rando runners beware.
I think that's about going to do it, Jesse. It was a pleasure as always. I'm
Fun
going to
times.
go ahead and let you lead the thing right on out, I think.
Okay. Well, thank you again for watching. Thank you to Scoopula for doing our tracking behind the scenes. Thank you to Scoople, High Ruler, Shady Force, and MattCap for agreeing to be restreamed for this mode. And my DM, it was a pleasure, of course, today. And we'll see you all next time. Make sure to check out the Speed Gaming channels. You'll find plenty of other Speed Gaming content. I know one of the big tournaments going on right now is the Zelda 1 rando tourney. So that is happening a lot as well. So be sure to tune into the other Speed Gaming networks to find all of your Speed Gaming needs. But have a great rest of your Wednesday nights, and we'll see you all next time.